Hello, everyone who might be watching and or listening to this. Who knows what channels these are going to be on? YouTube is definitely one of them. But I am here with Erika Middlemiss, an amazing, wonderful, gorgeous priestess of light and love and all good things that I met up in Mount Shasta during the Eclipse of Disclosure event. And we are here to talk and speak to you all and with you all, energetically holding the field down to kind of recap this amazing weekend that we had up at Mount Shasta for the Eclipse of Disclosure event. So, Erika, would you like to introduce yourself first, and then I'll give a little bit more details about, I guess, who I am? Yeah, just give us a little brief, intro about who you are.
I am a naturopathic physician. I live in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm also a QHHT practitioner under Dolores Cannon and a Reiki practitioner as well.
Nice. Those are all awesome things.
Yeah, it's a good combo for sure.
And I didn't introduce myself. My name is Bryan. You can call me Bryan, or sometimes I go by Bryan Anthony Phoenix when I want to be super official. And I am a sound therapist and vocal empowerment coach and musician. So my modality in service of this world is bringing through sound and music into a healing role in our lives. And so Erika and I have both found ourselves up at this event in Mount Shasta called Eclipse of Disclosure. And how would you describe this event to a wide audience, Erika? A wide array of people, or would you?
There are no words for this event. It was epic. I guess epic's a good word. The community, the love, the unity that was created there. There's no words for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think just even leading up to the event, just seeing it kind of being put together and seeing the Facebook group. By the way, if I'm looking over to my right, it's because I'm looking at the poster just to kind of like tune into the energy of that. But it just seeing it come together was a really awesome opportunity for us to get together and talk about things that are really important, I think, for humanity to talk about at this moment, which to kind of give a general overview for those who might not know what it is. I mean, basically, we're talking about disclosure of information that is being held by the powers that be that could significantly change the course of human development and evolution, and also bringing that concept into the opportunity to join together in conscious unity and practice to incorporate spirituality and understanding that our human evolution spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, all this has to do with what's going on in the realms of those who hold the power. So does that sound like a pretty good little synopsis?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Awesome.
You do that pretty well.
Wonderful. Well, so we are wanting to tell this story because not only was it an amazing event, but it was an incredibly epic weekend. We're talking about the eve of a solar eclipse. So just right there, we're starting with a kind of a major epic chapter starting to close. And as this one brother actually said one evening around the fire, that the eclipse is like a punctuation mark, right, at the end of a cycle of time. And so here we are gathering at the end of this cycle of time, about to go into this new cycle and talking about these amazing things. And on the very first day, I get to see this woman sitting in the audience who immediately just like her energy is like radiating. I remember you were sitting in the row like almost by yourself, I think. And
I was, I think.
Yeah, but I felt like there was a presence there of more than just you. And
Probably.
so I decided I was like, I'm gonna sit in this row because it seems like it's pretty amazing.
I noticed you sit down.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think I've ever told you that.
So as you might be able to see where this might be going, we ended up catching each other's attention, and I think I was stretching, and there was a comment made about how stretchy I was, and
Stretchy and tall.
stretchy and tall. It was at the end of one of the talks, and then we proceeded to go outside and we introduced each other, asked each other for our names at the very exact same time, and the rest is history. There's so much more that we want to talk about, but we wanted to set this up because this story is about us meeting, which has turned into a pretty epic coming
Love
together
story.
love story. Yes, let's call it for what it is.
Yep.
So I just wanted to say that first of all, that it's really been a beautiful experience. Out of all the things that came out of this event, I mean, for every individual, I'm sure there was some magic, but this right here, what we're talking about, what we're doing, what we're connecting with Erica and I is pretty friggin' epic. And it's just such an opportunity, a wonderful opportunity that this happened. So for all of those who put the Eclipse of Disclosure event together, I hope that you're watching this. I just want you to know that you created a hub, a nexus that allowed for me and this woman to meet, and there's going to be some amazing, incredible things that are going to happen as a result of this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, I
yeah,
couldn't be more grateful for this event. I mean, without this event, everything was laid out so perfectly for us
yeah,
to meet. And you were talking about the solar eclipse energy, but even before that, the lunar eclipse, my process kind of started well before that, but the lunar eclipse, the Lion's Gate, the solar eclipse, all this energy was available to us before we even got there to set ourselves up. And it's fun looking back to it to see how our guides, how our higher self was in charge of this whole process, and all we need to do was just sit back and let it happen.
absolutely. Yeah, that was pretty amazing what happened to lead up to this event. We've talked individually about that kind of preparation and all these synchronicities that happen to line up. What I think I'd like to do, because I'd like to continue to kind of address and work with the target audience of the Eclipse of Disclosure family that we had an opportunity to be with, and I'd love to talk about our experience this weekend in the context of all the things that seem to come up as synchronicities and things that were kind of like, wow, the energy of this event, of this time, the energy of the bird tribes, all those things that showed up during this weekend. That was just like, whoa, like synchronicity after synchronicity and just blessing after blessing. Whatever the higher group of beings that was helping guide this whole thing, they were definitely checking in with us on a regular basis throughout the day. So
With us the whole time.
totally.
Yeah.
I just want to get right down
Yeah.
to it, and let's talk about the bluebirds. Let's talk about the bird love that we got this weekend, and then we can actually kind of we can build around that, because these bluebirds kept showing up at really interesting times during the weekend. When was the first time that you were aware of the bluebird? So what I'll do is I'll preface and say that we were all staying in this house, which originally Erica was staying in by herself. And then she ended up inviting myself and 4 other amazing, beautiful, awesome human beings that were up here for the event. And we all ended up staying in this house that just ended up being this house of magic and wonderful doings. And so there was a bluebird.
Mm-hmm.
There was one bluebird in particular that was
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
the house mascot. When did you first see that bluebird?
So I got to the house on Thursday evening, and everyone else didn't get there till Friday. So when I first got there, I was checking it out. I went in the backyard, such a cute backyard. And I was standing out there looking around in the garden, and this bird just came up and sat on the fence and just like, ah! Just, I'm here. And Wow. So I recognized him immediately with his blue feathers. Like, okay, I see you. Thank you for letting me know you're here. I know you're here. so so yeah. I was called to this mountain in a kind of a different way, and I was actually I want to tell this story now because it's related.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll come back to when we saw these
Please do.
birds. Yeah. So um, I was at this mountain for the first time in trance in a hypnosis session.
Mm-hmm.
And I, just to be quick about it, I was taken back to a life where I was actually not a past life, a future life, where I was a fifth dimensional light being. And my job was to carry information and put them into a station in the universe so that everyone had access to this information. And when my job was done there, it was time for me to leave. And I was standing on like in the main hub, kind of looks like Star Trek,
Yeah.
and looking out into space, just taking it all in. And I turned around to my ship, I thought was the same ship, and it was different. And the steps were blue, and I walked up onto those and got in the ship, and it was different. And it was a pod that I laid down in. And
Can you?
I looked down at my.
Can you? Sorry, before you do that, could you say something about, because the ship that you were on before, there was a congruency with something that Corey had said, wasn't there? With that.
Oh, there's tons.
Okay.
There's tons. Yeah,
Okay.
I was trying to make it quick.
Okay.
Okay.
Just maybe one little bit.
The ship that I was flying to take the crystals to the report station.
Right.
That ship.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So this ship looks like a dome, like the Louvre, but a dome. With those panels. But when you're in there, it first looked like I was in the flight attendant zone. When you walk into a plane, it's like really a small area. That's where I was putting these crystals on the trays to then put them in the report station.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was a hallway, an archway, and I go through that. And once I go through that, I'm in this big dome, and there's nothing but light in there. It's just bright, bright, bright light, and a gray table in the middle with a glass pad. Nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
This is the part I guess you're talking about. So I walk up to the glass pad, and as soon as I do that, the constellation map pops up on the screen, and it's on the left-hand side of the screen. And I just input whatever I just knew what to do. And as I did that, the ship in front of me turned transparent, and I could see out in front of me, and we were just driving through space. And I say we. I was the only one on there, but I was absolutely part of a collective mind.
Yeah.
And so, although I was like a singular being in that ship, it was a we. So, yeah, that was the original ship. So after my job was done there, I got onto this other ship with the blue stairs into the pod that I lay down in, and I was wearing a long blue robe. And then it shot me out into space. And as that happened, I realized that I was in a death pod, and this pod was then transforming me and it into a blue orb. And that energy is very intense. What that feels like, it's the most loving, peaceful, joyous energy. And from there, my job was to go and help. I could be anywhere I want. I could do anything I wanted at that point. And so I went and I floated above the earth. And I looked around, and there are so many of us. So many of us. This earth is covered with orbs floating above us. And our job is to send energy, send love, and wait for a call. The calls, people, the earth itself. And my practitioner took me to a call, and I go right to it, and it's a knowing, and you go right to that person, and you feel every single ounce of their pain. And she was heartbroken, and she was kneeling down. She was wearing a white dress, long blonde hair, kneeling down in a meadow, just hysterically crying. I could feel her heartbreak. And I had to contain myself and remember who I was so I could help her. Right? I couldn't go help her as the mess in that mental state. And so
Yeah.
it's neat to look back at my session and see me remember who I am so I
Mm-hmm.
could help her.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I did that, I went and I surrounded her with myself,
Hmm.
with everything that is myself of the orb. I completely surrounded her. And in that moment, she felt okay.
Hmm.
She was fine. You know, when you call your guides for help and you're really sad, and then all of a sudden it feels like a warm blanket came over
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
That's why.
That's what you did.
Because
You were the blanket.
I was the blanket. Yeah.
Nice.
So here's where this story actually gets cool. Like, that's a cool story by itself, like, neat experience, yeah. But at Contact in the Desert, my dear friend Mark, who I could not be more eternally grateful to.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark. He introduced me to a beautiful priestess friend, and I'm not going to say her name. And it was the last day of the conference, and it was just the three of us at the house, and he said to me, hey, why don't you tell her your orb story? I said, cool, I love to tell this story. Yeah, I'll tell her. So I'm telling her, and as I'm telling her, she's crying. And I think to myself, oh, holy cow, this is you, isn't it? I say nothing. I continue to tell my story. I finish. She tells me, that was me. She told me the whole background story, why she was heartbroken, where she was. She was wearing exactly what I saw her wearing. And she just so happened to be in the meadow in Mount Shasta.
Wow. The meadow that she was in Mount Shasta.
Correct.
Wow.
So I've been to Mount Shasta before, and I never knew that there was this whole orb story around Mount Shasta and people looking for the orbs. But I know why you don't see them.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that. How beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because in terms of like Mount Shasta preparation, I mean, I live just 2.5 hours south of there, but I haven't really gone up there very often. And just within the last like couple of months, I've gone up there several times. You know, just
Really?
yeah, just like
That's the first you're telling me. Oh, wow.
yeah. I just like I went up for a camping trip where some friends and I did some medicine work that was really amazing and beautiful, right on the McCloud River, actually. And then yeah, I was up for the weekend just before the eclipse. I was up there playing music with a wonderful sister, and yeah, so and I just was like, oh wow, this mountain's starting to draw me in. Something's going on here. I mean, I got a drum there that I love, and yeah, so you know that vortex thing, right? And so I was feeling that too when I was here. I was like, wow, you know, I'm like starting to see like these setups and this kind of, you know, drawing in to prepare for this epic adventure that happened over the weekend. So yeah, it was interesting too. So we ended up with the people that we were with in that house. Shout out to Susie, Aaron, Sarah, Jack. That was it, right? And us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all the other we had some cameos. Christian, thanks for hanging out with us, and some other folks. What was your friend's name? Elena,
Yeah.
yeah. Shouts out. So
and Fabian, who else? I can't remember anybody else's name off the bat. Yvette, I think. Oh, God,
yeah, we had some people dropping in.
Yeah.
And so we found ourselves doing a shamanic journey on the night before the eclipse, and the intention was actually to tune in with the extra dimensional race that they call the place of Talos, the kingdom of Talos, whatever, the beings that live in the mountain. And had a really awesome experience. So I facilitated the drumming, and wow, what a powerful experience. So from my perspective, being the facilitator, I just immediately got an image of us like walking into the mountain and just being surrounded in this like crystal cave. And at that point, I saw each one of the individuals of all of us kind of go into their own different like part of the cave, and everyone was like receiving these healings I saw the beings around them, and I saw like some, like, I remember Jack was like laying in this like crystal bed, and I was just watching this, and I knew that you were in like your own journey within that. So it's like we stepped into this space, and then you all had your own journey, which you had shared with me, which is really beautiful. And I was facilitated, like I was going into that cave with you, and then I had like these Talos priests come up to me and basically say like, hey, they like put this like crystal cloak around me, and they're like, we want you to come back, which I still need to do. Remind me to do that. I need to come back in a journey. And they said, we want you to come back and be an initiate and learn some things from us. And I was like, whoa, that's intense. And then they're like, now get back to the shamanic journey because we need you to hold like more 3D space. So I was guided then to like get up and walk around the room with the drum, which was really interesting because like this was one of the first times that I like felt the presence, of something kind of guiding the drumming. And I remember at one point, like it got really intense. Like I was, the drum was like playing me and getting louder and stuff because of it wanted to create that space. And it was just such a profound experience, like just being able to tap into that energy space and whatever the construct of energies and consciousness that is associated with that, that place, whatever that looks like, whether it's like, I don't need to qualify it, but what I'm saying, like there's something there, right? There was something that we tapped into. And during that journey, we had our bluebird friend come by and like totally knew what was going on. So the bluebird
Wow.
like stops by and is just like outside the window is just like doing their thing. And
So much
totally,
noise.
yeah,
We're here.
totally, like just and you can tell. I mean, I've grown up around bluebirds, blue jays and stellar jays, and I know when they're just making noise, and I can also hear like it felt like the sound was definitely being projected like right. I mean, because they flew right outside the open window, and were basically just like, giving us messages of love and support. So that was one of the main bluebird cameos. There was a third one which was really awesome that we'll talk about. But so I wanted to talk a little bit more about what would you say, getting out of our kind of bubble of our friends and in our meeting. What was the highlight of the event for you, other than us?
Other than us.
I mean, because
Yeah.
it was such an amazing experience just connecting with awesome soul tribe and family. But in terms of the event itself, what did you take away from it personally?
Okay, that's like two different questions.
Okay. What was the highlight?
So what I really liked about this conference was the consciousness focus. In years past, these type of maybe disclosure events weren't consciousness based.
Right.
And starting this year at Contact, that started, and that was why Corey had this vision to do this, and he pulled it off so amazingly. Like every single speaker, and I got to meet new speakers that I didn't know before and learn from. That was amazing. Just a great group of speakers with a message of unity and oneness and love.
Yeah.
So that was the highlight for me. What I took away from this event was to always trust myself,
Mm-hmm.
and to let go of all illusory fear, because it's just illusion.
Mm.
There's no reason to be afraid of anything for any reason ever.
Mm.
And when you get that out of the way, life is just pure magic.
Mm-hmm.
Pure. And it flows. It just flows. Fear just holds you back.
Absolutely.
I learned some really good fear lessons this weekend. Some really good, strong ones.
Mm.
I almost didn't come to this event because I was afraid to.
Right.
And
you also almost didn't come to my vocal workshop because of that too, right?
That was a really, really, really tough one for me, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm so grateful that I did, and I took it as well, first of all, thank God for Susie for talking me through it, because when you told me I had to sing, I ran out of the house shaking, terrified, like, not doing this. And I started crying when I went outside because it brought up so many old fears. And so Susie talked me right through it, just the amazing, beautiful soul that she is. And I remembered and realized, okay, and took it as an opportunity to let this go once and for all. And thank God I did, because there was no reason for me to be scared. It was the most incredible workshop. I opened up in a way that I didn't even know I could. I didn't know that I lost my voice. I didn't realize that until you opened it up in this beautiful way that you do. So, yes, thank you for that. You were instrumental in this process.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I felt like I had some of the same lessons as well, you know. I mean, for me, this experience was really inspiring because this was the first time I was able to get into a group of people that were talking about stuff that I love to freaking talk about, you know? And I mean, I have a lot of really good friends, awesome family. But you know, I mean, I've been into UFOs, like the UFO phenomenon, like since I was like 8 years old, and I kind of told you the story about that. But you know, I had this like I was deathly afraid of them actually at first because I saw this movie that super triggered me. But in that fear, I got super fascinated. So it's like, it just hasn't been a thing for me. It's like it hasn't been a question. You know, like it's just like there's something going on here, but. You know, and I've had a couple of drop-in conversation with some random people that were like, "Oh, whoa, that was cool." I got like all of a sudden we were talking about this, and it was just kind of like helped strengthen the fact that I wasn't crazy, you know,
exactly,
or help me affirm that. And you know, people who had like direct experience in like the military and that kind of thing, you know, and. But even more so, it was like just being able to like just talk up to people about anything in that realm, you know, in one kind of area, and have it be, you know, in that realm of consciousness. I don't have the contrast of, you know, maybe some of the other events. I do have contrast of sometimes, you know, there are folks that all they want to talk about is like the facts, right? You know, and I think the consciousness piece was so important because I felt like we weren't just here just to talk, right? We weren't here just to spout words and information. It was like we're here to figure out how we can continue to unify, continue to proliferate this message, this information that is going to be crucial in us picking ourselves up out of this darkness and to actually like triumph, you know, to complete that hero's journey tale that has been written for us in the most optimal temporal timeline possible, right?
Yes, exactly. So we can make our light stronger so that is what we are putting out to the world.
Absolutely.
Right? So you mentioned that now, and it reminds me of one of the other big lessons that I learned throughout this weekend, this conference. I've been studying the law of one for the last 7+ years, and this negative greeting thing, you know, it can be a little scary, right?
Right.
And it's true that the brighter your light is, the stronger the greeting, or the equal, you know, it needs to be balanced out. And it was interesting a couple times where I was greeted, and it was very obvious. It was like during Bentino's meditation, and I was like, "Are you guys for real right now? That like right now you're trying this with me?" And I just laughed. I considered it again an opportunity. Like, you must be, my light must be that bright for you to come at me right now. So cool. Thanks. That's pretty awesome. And this is such a good opportunity for me to strengthen that and show you some love. Thank you for this opportunity. Right. And then it just squelches that whole greeting when I can love and be grateful for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and in that, you know, I did have a moment where I was like proud of myself for that. And then I was like, oh, I just ruined it because I was proud of depolarizing. And then I was like, man, I just messed that right up. So now I like try to just take it for what it is, know that everything is love, right? And not be like pleased with myself for winning that, because that's not how it works.
Totally. Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I appreciate that
Yeah.
too. I felt like that was one of the things that I took away from the conference too, is just recognizing that yeah, there's some bigger stuff at work. There are some in terms of what's normally talked about on the 3D realm. Like there are forces that are in constant flux and interaction, and but that doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be scary, And I really
Exactly. It's all love.
right, and I really appreciated that too. So you're writing a book regarding the law of one, right?
I am. Yes, it's getting very close to being done. I'm actually I'm doing something different with it. I'm taking the concepts and I'm relating them to many, many other things, um, well-known ancient texts and books and things, and I'm wording it a little differently
Yeah,
to make it more understandable, make it more simple. Yeah.
yeah, that sounds amazing. I'm very much looking forward to it. Yeah, when you
Thank
pulled
you.
when you pulled out the Return of the Bird Tribes book, and I saw all the markings, and we talked a little bit
My
about
OCDness.
yeah, well, and just talked about how you're utilizing that text in conjunction with that material. Is like, oh yeah, like
Absolutely.
and there's so much more, of course. Well,
We
going
are the bird tribes.
totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we got about 13 minutes left that I wanted to just like talk a little bit more about the epicness of our personal journey, and then
Yes.
wrap it up maybe with like a just a general kind of consensus about the moving forward for ourselves and the collective.
Mhm.
Um, so the day of the eclipse. Whoa.
Mm. Whoa. Whoa. Yeah, exactly. Whoa.
Whoa. So
Mm.
we decided as a group,
Mhm.
as a house. Well, there was four of us that decided to stay at the house, and the two went to the event. At least during the actual kind of more or less totality of where we were at, and who were at the house, we did a meditation and an intention, and we just sat through that transition, and that was a really interesting experience for me personally, because I literally felt like when we shifted, and I actually
Me
got
too.
this I got this like sudden rush of energy, and actually almost kind of had like this kind of feeling like of a pre like panic attack, like just that like that fluttering of the heart of like,
Mhm.
whoa, is this gonna be like, I almost felt like I was about to like get into psychedelic space, and like my body was like, whoa, 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 I'm not ready for this right now. Like are we going into the fourth dimension like right now? I might need, I have some things
Is
to
this
do.
happening instantly?
And or fourth density, and
We did though.
well,
We did.
and that was the thing. It was just like, okay, like if this is happening, I'm just gonna breathe through it. And so, I did that. I brought my breath into it. I'm like, I'm here. We're doing this. And yeah, it was just really profound, that particular experience, just like leading up to it. I mean, we kind of found the happy medium. We were thinking about being in a cave for the whole time, but instead we decided, okay, we're gonna be outside. We had our glasses. We were looking at it a little bit, but right as the time came when it was supposed to kind of turn the page, we ended up just being in silent meditation, which was really amazing. How was your experience with that?
Wow, so powerful. I mean, you kind of just said it all, but what I thought was amazing about it was after after the totality happened and it was all, the process was over and we were all kind of coming back a little bit. You asked if it was the perfect timing, asked if you could say a few words.
Mm,
And when you did, it was exactly what all four of us were going through. The
mm,
exact words, the exact feelings. You summed it up for all four of us. We went through that together.
mm.
And then we went and met the other two at the event because there was going to be that group meditation at
Yeah,
11:11.
yeah,
So we went there
yeah,
and met with our crew, and Susie told us about her experience, told me about her experience, and it was the same exact thing that we experienced. And when I told her about what happened to us, wow, was that powerful.
yeah. It was like we were holding down different parts of the experience, like
Yes.
kind of like this, this
Yes.
field, right? So they were at
Yes.
the event, and we were at the house, and we were
Yes.
just like holding it down across
Yes.
the way.
And speaking of that, my dear friends Mark and Michelle were at Serpent Mound, holding down that fort. So
Nice.
we spread our energy out for this eclipse
Totally.
very beautifully.
Holding
They were
down.
with us. They felt us with them. I talked to them this week.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so another thing that happened too is so at the end after we said some words, and I felt called to do a white Tara mantra blessing. And so I got off. We were sitting like on this kind of back like concrete slab thing, and I got off and I was facing the house where everyone was sitting, and I was using my spirit arrow just to kind of weave some energy while I was chanting the mantra. And then our bluebird friend comes up and just like, I mean, this was like just to make sure I'm being intentional about this. Like that's what they were saying. Like just so you know, this is for you. He literally just flies like right up, or he or she like flies right up on this tree right above the roof, and is just staring right at me as I'm doing this mantra, and just joining in with its call, like just sitting there like yeah.
It was so perfect.
It was gorgeous. I mean, the bluebird tribe was definitely in there in force, in energetic force, and it was just such a beautiful experience. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I think that brings us back to us coming together too, and how we called each other to the mountain.
Yes, and maybe we can tell that story another time. Because we're getting down to 7 minutes, and what I will say is that I mean, so many things leading up to this event. I feel very strongly called to become more of an integral part of this group. As this disclosure group, centered around consciousness and disclosure. I mean, I feel really excited to see where I can fit in my particular offerings as we move forward and create more events and more community. And just seeing how everything's kind of led up to that point, and like the culmination of like, oh, this is like all the things for me, like,
Right.
like all these pieces are coming together and coalescing. And that's how it happened with you and I meeting too. I mean, we're going to share this story at a different time. We promise you, and we'll share it with our disclosure family, because this love story is
I think we're just gonna make it into a movie.
I think we have to. It's pretty epic.
It is. It really is.
It's pretty epic.
It's multi-dimensional.
Yes. All the things.
The story really is. We were supposed to talk about this story, but I guess we needed to talk about this first. So that's just how we roll. We're just gonna go with the flow of it, and
is that what we're gonna talk about?
We'll tell it next time.
All right, here, let's do this. So we started about 15 minutes in the hour. I'm going to extend this a little bit so we can talk about it. Are you all ready? Anybody listening? I hope the folks are okay with kicking it with us for an hour. And if not, it's available. You can come back, listen to it. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to tell my side of this experience, right?
Okay. Good, please.
And I told this on a little bit on this on the radio show that I host in Chico called Love in the 21st Century, how this particular type of relationship was one that I've been interested in for a while now, since I even first came across the concept of like a conscious, like heart to heart, like deep drop in, relationship, unity, soul connection. And I've witnessed them, I've read about them, and I realized not that long ago that I was afraid. I was afraid of this because I didn't feel like I was ready. I didn't feel like I was worthy. I still had some self-love things coming up. And I remember I was in meditation last September in a medicine ceremony, actually, when I really got the full totality of what it would be like to be in that kind of relationship. Like I got this sudden flash of just like, whoa, like that's what it's like. And like immediately I was like, yeah, like I want that. And then right after it was like, oh shit, like I got to share everything, like I gotta be ready at least to share everything and be open and be really like vulnerable. And at the moment it like scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's scary.
And so over the last couple of months, though, I think what triggered it for me is I finally, I was reading all these articles about, what it's like to love an awakened woman, and to be an awakened man loving an awakened woman, and all the kind of tenets that are involved in that. And a lot of these articles seem very like far reaching, in the sense that they give you this like whole laundry list of things that it seems like they want you to be like you need to be this and this and this and this, and be like ready to do this. And I'm just like, I'm reading this, and finally I was just like, I was like, this seems like so daunting. Like, it just seems impossible. And I got frustrated, and I went into meditation, not long after that. And I realized like, oh, like, it's not about that. It's not about the perfection picture of it. Right. And so I made a prayer, and I stated a very clear intention. I was just like, you know what, Great Spirit, if I am being called, and if it is my destiny to be in a conscious, loving relationship with someone that I can drop in deeply, as deep as possible on this human plane, then I'm ready. And I felt the shift. I was like, and I felt the things leading up to it, just being able to look at myself in the mirror and just be like, you know what, Bryan, I love you. You're a good dude. And, like leading up to that, and then just speaking those words of like, I'm ready, and just feeling that shift, and then just being like, okay. And then just like walking away from it. And then a couple months later, I had a really awesome experience. The one last thing I'm going to share, and I want you to talk about it a little bit, is that so the week before this eclipse, I actually went again. I was in Mount Shasta, right? So I'm in Mount Shasta the week before this, and I am like surrounded by goddess energy. It was crazy how intense the goddess like just came into my life during these. During this time when I was in Shasta this last weekend. So I was in Shasta. I played this amazing event with this awesome sister named Annie. She had friends that came in, and like just all these awesome women, that were just all these great reflections of just wonderful goddess energy. And then I was feeling the goddess energy of the mountain, of the streams, of the water I was connecting deeply with. It was just like, had a couple real deep drop-ins with Mother Gaia. And so I left Mount Shasta after that night, and that like kind of 12-hour period where I was just surrounded by all this awesome goodness. And then I kind of was like feeling the sadness, because I felt like I was kind of coming out of that field, and I felt like a little bit of a fear of like abandonment of that energy coming through. And I was dropping into Mount Shasta, where I was staying for that evening for a vocal workshop. And I was feeling this kind of fear and sadness like welling up. And I go on this walk around this place called Jackson Well Springs, and I stumble across the Ashland Goddess Temple, which I had no idea was there. And I'll put the picture. I'll put the pictures and other pictures in the maybe the show comments if I can on YouTube. They're also.
I was just trying to find it. I couldn't.
They're also on Facebook. But so I drop into this like. This amazing goddess temple, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, really? And they've got this fairy ring that's like connected with South England, and it's just this beautiful like little mini vortex. And I walk into this goddess temple, and there's this amazing goddess altar that I just went in front of, and I just like went to my knees, and I was just like, all right, again, I'm like, all I want to do for you, dear goddess, is show up in like the most, serving, strong, and open-hearted and conscious way possible. So like whatever that looks like I'm ready. I'm not like, I don't want to be like attached to any of these outcomes. I just want to be present for this energy, because the divine feminine is so important just to support and bring through. And I was like, let me be a champion of that movement. And I really felt like the blessing, and immediately all that kind of fear and stuff like went away. The one thing that happened, though, the last thing I'll say before I let you get into yours, so the fairy ring claimed this necklace of mine, which is interesting, because the necklace I ended up wearing to Mount Shasta probably would not have been the one I was wearing, which ended up being kind of a symbol of our union. Not kind of,
yes.
Is.
Is.
And I probably wouldn't have been wearing that, actually, because I was so stoked about this other necklace. So I think the fairy, like, I literally, Like I set a necklace down on the table and walked away for a little bit and came back, and there was no other human beings in the area, and it was just gone. It was just like
Fairies like this.
just gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that was the one price to pay, to be able to whatever they wanted to be to be tuned in. Um, and yeah, so it was just interesting because like I didn't, it wasn't until in fact after the eclipse and a couple days to decompress where I saw all these things happening that led up to us meeting. I was like, whoa, whoa. Every time I'm just like, whoa, whoa. In hindsight,
Right.
just amazing. So you want to share a little bit about your experience of what led to this, and like maybe little like hints and things that came up that would like in hindsight be like, oh, that's what the preparation was, or that's what that insight was.
Well, yeah, and I'm realizing today too. So, I'm a seer, right? And what I'm realizing is that I'm sometimes I don't realize that I'm seeing the future, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that I'm feeling this energy like now, but the energy of this relationship, you and I came in like 2 months before this event. Like I kept feeling this divine union, this like fast and furious, like beautiful relationship that was just so sacred.
Mm.
Um, I felt other things that I won't get into. So I just I just knew, and I had a friend who is a beautiful intuitive. He doesn't even realize how intuitive he is, and he made a comment to me before I went up to this event, and he said he knows what I've been through. I getting out of a relationship, a long relationship, just a few months ago, really, and processing that and opening my heart after that. I actually did a ton of work after that, and on myself, and opening my heart, and cutting the guilt from my past, and letting it to be the past so that I could move forward,
Mm.
and open up that space to allow this beautiful man that was going to come in my life that I knew. And uh, and I was told many, many years ago from one of my favorite psychic friends, who I've been getting readings from for a long time, and she's always right. But she told me that I would meet my partner at a conference, essentially. And that was a really long time ago. And then back to my friend who is super intuitive, and said to me, I just want you to make sure that you keep your heart open and keep your space open when you go to this event. Um, you never know. And I said, yeah, absolutely. Like, of course, I already know this. And then, later I was like, yeah, he's got a point. Let me really work on this. Let me like set a really clear intention that this is what I'm doing here. And yeah, that's what I did. And that's what part of the process that allowed our space to be available.
Mm.
We both did a lot of work to allow this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really where probably another several videos could come in talks about just the preparation
Right.
work, cuz
Yeah.
I've seen that now. I've seen that like all the things that have been done in preparation to create space for this, to create strength, to create the ability to be like, you know, the courage to not turn tail and run, and because it's like,
Exactly.
wow, this is powerful, like the amount of synchronicities and like like everything that's led up to this and what's been happening since we met, and all the energies we can feel just kind of like coming together. It's like, whoa, it's pretty profound and amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Super profound and amazing.
yes. Hmm.
This energy actually overtakes my body. I mean, that sounds like it's a bad thing. It's not. Um, I've experienced this high vibrational energy a few times, different energy sessions, as I've continued along this process, and in my hypnotic trance that I was in, where I was the orb, and once with my friends at Contact, coming together with my tribe. But
Mm.
but but I also experienced this with you as well. So, and it's very interesting, and it happens when we remember
Right.
our connections,
Yeah.
and the totality of who we are as soul entities. Um,
Absolutely.
and so that remembrance brings in that high vibration and allows it to settle into this meat suit.
Absolutely. And the exciting thing about it is, like, I think the thing that is just so exciting is how motivated we both are to move in a similar direction, to see where our, joining and union can really, like, just totally, like, just create the best things possible with our own personal and collective talents to contribute to this awakening of humanity, and to help our human family and our tribe out to step up and really, we can do this. I honestly feel like that we who are part
We are
of,
doing this.
we are doing that. Yeah, exactly. Because I was going to say, like, I really felt like this weekend of the eclipse, I really do feel like we aligned with that optimal temporal timeline. I really do. And so now it's just like, all right, let's just keep taking the action to edify that, to prove it to other people, to, get everyone, understanding that that's what's happening, that there's no more fear that needs to be perpetuated. We have the strength and the ability together to overcome and transmute the pain and get out of this aeons old story of conflict and just, like, rock this thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I got back here to Phoenix where I live. I've lived here for 20 years. I've never taken pictures from the airplane, like getting into the city. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. I've actually always been like, meh, Phoenix. And this time I took a ton of pictures because it looked so beautiful. It was crisp and clear, and the mountains were like gleaming. I was like, whoa, what is this place?
Mm-hmm.
And even I walk out my front door and I see the mountains, and they look different than they've looked before. Everything looks beautiful and bright and happy, and I certainly live in a different world.
Mm.
And yes, and so it's our job. We're here doing this job. It's nice to be able to come together to do our job. It's time. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm so grateful that we did this video. And,
Me too.
Yeah, just super excited about everything moving forward. And I am super excited I get to do this with an amazing, beautiful, just bright, shining goddess that you are. And I'm so glad the video was kind of pixely for a little bit, but it cleaned up towards the end, which is great because I couldn't figure out how to put both of us together. So it's just like you on display.
Sweet.
Which is like, hi. You're quite the being to be that image for us. So thank you. Thank you for all that you do. And
thank you for all that you do.
Thank you to everyone who has watched or listened to this. We would love to just connect with anybody who's, like, feeling called. Like, if anybody's being, like, triggered, not in a bad way, but if anyone's, like, feeling like some things are popping up energetically as a result of listening or talking about this, if you have some similar stories to share, if you're just feeling that kind of that coalescing of that vibration and energy, like, let's talk about it. I think there's been a couple of Facebook group things that have been started. I'm going to post this on both of them. I think the Eclipse of Disclosure, and then there's one called I think it's like keeping the vibration going, and it's awesome. So let's keep doing that, and let's keep joining together and talking about these epic things that are happening while we are serving and stepping up into our authentic, illuminated selves.
We are all the magicians. Magic is real.
Absolutely. Proven. So yeah, that's the one thing I'm going to say is that, like, if there was ever a doubt in my mind about the synchronistic, magical, just like knock your face off, like, power of the universe to just align things in just the perfect way, this weekend was like just eliminated any of that doubt. Just absolute, like 100%, just like zapped away. I mean, my mind has been trying really hard to come back with it, and it's literally been like there's so much proof provided in just like a 72-hour period that I just like it has no argument anymore.
Right. Right. And all we needed to do was just get out of our own way.
Totally.
It's that simple.
That's
Get
it.
out of the way. Yeah.
Yeah,
We make it so hard on ourselves.
absolutely. Well, let's start making it more easy on ourselves
Yes,
and support each other.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you.
And we'll talk to you all later.
Yes.
Bye bye.